There is a Super Bowl ring that nobody remembers. It sits in a drawer somewhere in Morgantown, West Virginia. The owner does not wear it often. He does not talk about it in interviews. He does not appear on ESPN retrospectives about championship quarterbacks. But that ring represents something the NFL desperately wants you to forget. It represents proof that a backup quarterback, playing for a team everyone had written off, defeated the most dominant franchise in football history on the sport's biggest stage. And 3 years later, that same quarterback led the Oakland Raiders to within one game of another Super Bowl appearance, playing some of the most clutch football the franchise had seen in over a decade. His name is Jeff Hostetler, and if you are under 30 years old, you probably have never heard of him. Tonight, I am going to tell you why that is a crime, why Jeff Hostetler deserves to be remembered alongside the great Raiders quarterbacks, and why the NFL has systematically erased one of the most remarkable stories in playoff history. By the end of this video, you will understand that the quarterback Raiders fans loved was not just good, he was championship caliber. And the only reason you do not know his name is because the league decided his story did not fit their preferred narrative. Let me start with the moment that should have made Jeff Hostetler a household name forever. January 27, 1991, Tampa Stadium, Tampa, Florida. Super Bowl XXV, New York Giants versus Buffalo Bills. The Bills are the most explosive offense in professional football. They have averaged over 26 points per game. They have destroyed opponents in the playoffs. They are 14-point favorites to win the championship. The Giants are a ground and pound team built on defense and ball control. Their starting quarterback, Phil Simms, suffered a season-ending injury in Week 15. His replacement is a backup who has thrown exactly 3 passes all season. That backup is Jeff Hostetler, 29 years old, buried on the depth chart for 7 seasons, a quarterback who has waited his entire career for this moment. What happens over the next 3 hours will prove that Jeff Hostetler belongs in any conversation about clutch playoff performers. The Giants' game plan is simple. Control the clock, keep the Bills' offense off the field, make Jeff Hostetler manage the game without forcing him to win it. But the Bills score first, then they score again. Suddenly the Giants are trailing and the game plan is falling apart. Jeff Hostetler is going to have to make plays. Third quarter, Giants trailing 12-10. New York faces 3rd and 13 from their own 7-yard line. If they fail to convert, they punt from their own end zone. The Bills get excellent field position, the game could slip away. Hostetler drops back, the Bills rush 4. He steps up in the pocket. He sees Mark Ingram breaking open at the Giants' 25-yard line. The throw travels 18 yards on a rope, first down. The drive continues. The Giants march 93 yards. They score a touchdown, they take the lead 20-19. Fourth quarter, Giants leading 20-19, but the Bills are driving. Buffalo faces 3rd and 4 from the Giants' 35-yard line. A first down likely sets up a field goal attempt that gives Buffalo the lead. Jim Kelly throws incomplete. The Bills attempt a 47-yard field goal. Scott Norwood misses wide right. The Giants win Super Bowl XXV by the final score of 20-19. Jeff Hostetler finishes the game completing 20 of 32 passes for 222 yards and 1 touchdown with 0 interceptions. He manages the offense flawlessly. He makes every throw required of him. He earns a Super Bowl ring in his first career playoff start. This performance should have made Jeff Hostetler famous. A backup quarterback leading his team to an upset Super Bowl victory over the most explosive offense in football. This is the story the NFL loves to celebrate. Except they did not celebrate it. They barely acknowledged it. Why? Because Jeff Hostetler's story complicated the narrative the NFL wanted to tell about Super Bowl XXV. The league wanted to focus on the Bills' heartbreak, on Scott Norwood's missed kick, on the drama of a championship decided by one play. Jeff Hostetler winning the game with clutch throws and perfect game management did not fit that narrative, so his performance was buried, his name was forgotten, and casual fans never learned that a backup quarterback had just defeated the Buffalo Bills juggernaut. But here is something that makes this erasure even more disturbing. In the weeks leading up to Super Bowl XXV, the media questioned whether Jeff Hostetler was capable of performing on that stage. They suggested the Giants should change their entire offensive philosophy because their backup quarterback could not be trusted. Sports Illustrated ran a cover story focusing on the Bills as unstoppable champions. Jeff Hostetler was mentioned in exactly 2 paragraphs. The narrative was already written. Buffalo would win easily. The Giants' quarterback situation was a fatal weakness. Then, Hostetler went out and proved every single one of those narratives wrong. He made big throws when the Giants needed them. He protected the football in a game where one turnover could have been catastrophic. He executed a game plan that kept the most explosive offense in football off the field for over 40 minutes. And when the confetti fell, when the Lombardi Trophy was presented, the media simply moved on. They did not apologize for underestimating Hostetler. They did not acknowledge that they had been completely wrong about his capabilities. They just shifted their focus to Scott Norwood's kick and pretended the quarterback play had been irrelevant. This is how the NFL operates. When a player does not fit their predetermined narrative, they erase his accomplishments and move on to a story that sells better. But Raiders fans would eventually learn who Jeff Hostetler was, because in 1993, Al Davis made a decision that would give Hostetler one more chance to prove he was elite. Let me take you to Oakland, April 1993. The Raiders are in desperate need of a quarterback. They have cycled through Jay Schroeder, Steve Bierlein, and Todd Maranovich with disastrous results. The franchise needs stability at the most important position. Jeff Hostetler has spent 2 more seasons backing up Phil Simms in New York. He wants to start. He wants to prove that Super Bowl XXV was not a fluke. He's 31 years old. This is his final chance. Al Davis signs Hostetler to a 3-year contract. The deal is not massive. It reflects the market for a backup quarterback with one great playoff performance on his resume. What Davis gets is a revelation. 1993 season. Jeff Hostetler takes over as the Raiders' starting quarterback. In his first season in Oakland, he throws for 3,015 yards and 14 touchdowns. The Raiders go 10-6 and make the playoffs for the first time since 1990. But the statistics only tell part of the story. Jeff Hostetler brought something to the Raiders that had been missing for years: leadership, composure, the ability to make plays in critical moments. I want to show you a specific game from the 1993 season that reveals exactly who Jeff Hostetler was as a quarterback. December 5th, 1993, Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, Raiders versus Denver Broncos. The Raiders enter this game 7-12. They're fighting for a playoff spot. The Broncos are 9-3 and leading the AFC West. This game will determine whether Oakland has a realistic chance at the postseason. The game is tied 20-20 late in the 4th quarter. The Raiders have the ball at their own 20-yard line with 2 minutes 30 seconds remaining. No timeouts. This is the situation where backup quarterbacks panic, where the moment becomes too big, where mistakes happen that end seasons. Jeff Hostetler does not panic. He completes a 15-yard pass to Tim Brown, then a 12-yard pass to Ethan Horton, then a 9-yard scramble on 3rd and 7 to move the chains. The Raiders are at the Denver 35-yard line with 40 seconds remaining. Hostetler throws a strike to James Jett at the Denver 18-yard line. The Raiders call their final timeout. Jeff Yeager comes on to attempt a 35-yard field goal. The kick is good. Raiders win 23-20. They improve to 8-5 and control their playoff destiny. Jeff Hostetler finished that drive completing 5 of 6 passes under maximum pressure with the season on the line. This was not a fluke. This was a quarterback who had won a Super Bowl, demonstrating exactly why championship teams trusted him. Wildcard round, January 8, 1994, Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, Raiders versus Denver Broncos. The Broncos are favored. John Elway is one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. The Raiders are playing with house money. Nobody expects them to win. Jeff Hostetler completes 23 of 34 passes for 274 yards and 1 touchdown. He outduels John Elway. The Raiders win 42-24. This is not a fluke. This is a quarterback playing at an elite level in the biggest game of the Raiders season. Let me show you the throw that sealed this game. 4th quarter, Raiders leading 35-24. Denver driving. The Broncos need 2 scores, but they have momentum. One stop and the Raiders can run out the clock. 3rd and 6 from the Oakland 48-yard line. Elway drops back. He throws deep for Mike Pritchard. Raiders safety Eddie Anderson steps in front of the route and intercepts the pass. He returns it to the Denver 42-yard line. 2 plays later, Jeff Hostetler throws a 24-yard touchdown pass to Tim Brown. The game is over. The Raiders have won their first playoff game in 4 years. After the game, Madden, who was calling the broadcast, said something that has been forgotten but deserves to be remembered. He said that Jeff Hostetler had just outplayed one of the 5 best quarterbacks in NFL history. He said the Raiders had found something special. Divisional round, January 15, 1994, Rich Stadium, Buffalo, New York, Raiders versus Buffalo Bills. The same Bills team that Hostetler beat in Super Bowl XXI, playing at home in freezing conditions, desperate to erase the memory of that Super Bowl loss. The temperature at kickoff was 7 degrees. The wind chill made it feel like -10. These are conditions where passing becomes almost impossible, where quarterbacks make mistakes that cost their teams games. The game is brutal. The weather is miserable. The Bills' defense is hitting everything that moves. This is exactly the kind of environment where backup quarterbacks crumble. Jeff Hostetler does not crumble. He completes 18 of 28 passes for 218 yards. He does not turn the ball over. He makes every throw required to keep the Raiders competitive. One throw in particular deserves to be remembered. 3rd quarter, Raiders trailing 16-13, 3rd and 8 from the Buffalo 42-yard line in a driving snowstorm. Hostetler takes the snap. He pump fakes to freeze the safety. He throws a frozen rope to Rocket Ishmael at the Buffalo 24-yard line. 1st down in conditions where most quarterbacks would check down or throw the ball away. The Raiders eventually score on that drive to tie the game. They fought until the final minutes before losing 29-23. But Buffalo wins 29-23. The Raiders' season ends 1 game short of the AFC Championship. Jeff Hostetler had led the Raiders further into the playoffs than they had been in 4 years. He had outplayed John Elway. He had gone into Buffalo and nearly beaten the Bills at home in January, and Raiders fans loved him for it. 1994 season, Hostetler throws for 3,307 yards and 20 touchdowns. The Raiders go 9-7. They miss the playoffs by 1 game. 1995 season, the team goes 8-8. Hostetler's production declines slightly, but he remains competitive. By 1996, age and injuries had caught up with him. The Raiders moved on. Hostetler played 1 final season with the Washington Redskins before retiring in 1997. His career statistics are not Hall of Fame worthy. 16,430 passing yards, 94 touchdowns, 71 interceptions across parts of 10 seasons. But those numbers miss what Jeff Hostetler actually accomplished. He won a Super Bowl as a backup and performed brilliantly in that game. He took the Raiders to the playoffs in his first season and won a playoff game against John Elway. He gave Oakland 3 competitive seasons at quarterback during a period when the franchise desperately needed stability. Raiders fans who watched him play remember a quarterback who was tough, smart, and clutch. A player who made the throws that mattered and never folded under pressure. So why has Jeff Hostetler been forgotten? Because the NFL does not celebrate players who do not fit clean narratives. Hostetler was never a franchise quarterback who played 15 years for one team. He was never a high draft pick with years of hype behind him. He was never part of a dynasty that the league could market endlessly. He was a journeyman backup who happened to win a Super Bowl and then gave the Raiders 3 solid seasons. That story is too complicated for the NFL's highlight packages, so they erased him. The Giants do not feature him prominently in their Super Bowl XXV retrospectives. They focus on the defense, on the game plan, on Lawrence Taylor. Jeff Hostetler is an afterthought in the story of his own championship. The Raiders do not talk about the 1993 playoff run often because it did not end with a Super Bowl. The franchise prefers to celebrate the championship years and pretend the 1990s never happened. So Jeff Hostetler exists in a strange historical void, too successful to be dismissed entirely, too inconvenient to be celebrated properly. But here's what makes his story truly remarkable. Jeff Hostetler played college football at West Virginia University. He was not a top recruit. He was not groomed from childhood to be a quarterback. He walked on at Penn State before transferring to West Virginia and earning a scholarship. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1984 NFL Draft by the New York Giants, 159th overall, a developmental prospect at best. He spent 7 seasons backing up Phil Simms without complaining, 7 years practicing without playing, 7 years preparing for a moment that might never come. And when that moment finally came in December 1990, when Phil Simms went down with a broken foot, Jeff Hostetler was ready. He led the Giants to wins in their final 2 regular season games. He won 2 playoff games. He won the Super Bowl, all in the span of 5 weeks. Then he went back to being a backup for 2 more years before getting another chance in Oakland. This is not the story of a naturally gifted athlete who had success handed to him. This is the story of a player who maximized every opportunity through preparation and mental toughness. That is why Raiders fans loved him, because Jeff Hostetler embodied the values that the franchise has always celebrated: work ethic, toughness, performing when it matters most. The NFL has forgotten Jeff Hostetler, but Raiders Nation never will. When you watch the 1993 playoff victory over Denver, you see a quarterback who belongs in any discussion of great Raiders playoff performances. When you watch Super Bowl XXV, you see a backup quarterback playing like a champion on the biggest stage in sports. Jeff Hostetler deserves better than historical obscurity. He deserves recognition for what he accomplished with limited opportunities. He deserves to be remembered as one of the most clutch playoff quarterbacks of his generation. The quarterback Raiders fans loved was not flashy. He was not a media darling. He was not someone the league could build marketing campaigns around. But he was a winner. He was a champion. And he gave the Raiders 3 years of competitive football during one of the darkest periods in franchise history. That deserves to be remembered. That deserves to be celebrated. If this story reminded you of a quarterback you had forgotten, or introduced you to a player whose story deserves to be told, then subscribe to this channel. We tell the stories of Raiders players who have been erased from NFL history. We honor the men who wore silver and black with pride, even when the league refused to acknowledge them. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand that greatness is not always loud, that championships matter regardless of how the media chooses to frame them, that Jeff Hostetler was better than history remembers. Comment below with your memories of watching Hostetler play. Tell me if you remember the 1993 playoff run. Tell me if you think he deserves more recognition than he has received. The quarterback Raiders fans loved has been forgotten by NFL history, but we remember. Raiders Nation always remembers the players who gave everything for the silver and black. Jeff Hostetler won a Super Bowl. He beat John Elway in the playoffs. He gave the Raiders 3 competitive seasons when the franchise desperately needed them. That is not a footnote. That is a legacy. And legacies deserve to be told. Just win, baby. That is what Jeff Hostetler did when it mattered most, and that is why Raiders fans will never forget him, even if the rest of the world already has.